Now it's time for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning. Let's bring in a RISE analyst, Dr. Constance Ikwoku. Good morning, Dr. Constance.
Good morning, Yolanda.
Midweek, good to see you.
I think that we all got the memo today.
Yes,
all
it
black.
seems so.
Yeah, when I came into the studio, I was like, okay, Yolanda is in black, Charles is in black, I am in black. And Ben, I think that's navy blue, so you're not far off. Welcome to the group.
Thank you.
Okay, it's good to see everyone today. To review the papers with us, we have Ben Sherman. He is a former director of news, Voice of Nigeria. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with this day. As usual, we'll see two stories in this day today. First, Nwosu. I was offered 3 ministerial slots to decline use of ADC as coalition party. This revelation by former national chairman of the African Democratic Congress, Mr. Ralph Nwosu, comes as the National Executive Committee of the party was formally handed over to former Senate President David Mark, while former Osun Governor Rauf Aregbesola was announced as National Secretary of the party. Nwosu narrated how officials from the All Progressives Congress, APC, tried to stop the establishment of a coalition party. The party's neck was also monitored by 7 officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission, he revealed. Nwosu said he rejected all enticement on grounds that Nigeria cannot become a one-party state after our battle against military rule. I mean, what a disclosure of political backroom dealings. The ruling party will have us believe that it is not against the opposition. Even the president, once when he spoke, alluded to the fact that the ruling party or himself, they're not against dissent from any other party in Nigeria. But from this revelation, we are seeing that there are alternative accounts of events in the country. In the long run, without political competition, leaders have little pressure on them to do what is good and to listen to the needs of citizens. And Nigeria, a very diverse and big country, definitely doesn't need concentration of power in the hands of a single group or a tiny group of people, and it looks like that's the direction that we are heading. Secondly, there's a story at the top window there that will look at Nigeria's 2020 growth outlook upgraded from 3.2% to 3.4% by the International Monetary Fund. It also spoke about the usual structural and institutional reforms, investment in infrastructure, transportation, etc. Very marginal, isn't it, Ben? Your reaction to these stories?
Yes, honestly, very, very marginal when it comes to the growth of Nigeria, the gross domestic product in the country. What is it that Nigerians are doing to ensure that it ups its ante? But so when you have these Bretton Woods institutions trying to, they sound like the policeman of development. They want to tell you exactly what should be done and what not to be done, even in terms of borrowing, what percentage, in terms of sacking people and all that stuff. But if they feel that Nigeria is making some little progress, so be it. But this is also the time that you see some Nigerian officials now saying, oh, the IMF has even attested to the fact that there is growth in the country. But when you're talking about this growth, we want to also see some things on the table. At this point in time, how much is 50 kg of fertilizer, where agriculture is the mainstay of this economy as per large employments in the country? So we ought to see all of this. And in terms of borrowing, you also see that in Nigeria here, we're still talking about double-digit figures when you are borrowing, and it doesn't augur well. If you're talking of taxation, it's so high. Very many poor people are rather been tax to ensure that the economy is growing, whereas it's supposed to be the other way around, where the very rich that could be taxed, people living in luxury and all that stuff. So if we're talking about infrastructure, I also see that they're talking about inclusiveness. In terms of the poor, are they being taken care of a kind of to ensure that it is better off? Now, when you're talking about the political angle, when Ralph Nwosu is saying that he was offered, or the party was offered 3 ministerial slots to ensure that there is no coalition and ADC is not being used as the platform. Now, we ought to have seen that the moment that was sent on to him, there is time lapse, so to speak. But all the same, I think that it would be wrong for APC not to look for any, to say that there shouldn't be any coalition. They are on board because of a blessing of coalition. If you check from PDP, Labour, and other political parties, they all came out in factions, in fractions, piecemeal, and they joined what has now formed the government of the day. So it would therefore be wrong for APC to say, no, there shouldn't be any coalition. And like Dr. Constance said, even the president said, there will be no single party in Nigeria that will take charge of this country. And it has come to be so.
Right. Daily Independent, Senate gives NNPCL 3 weeks to explain 210 trillion naira audit queries. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, now led by new boss, Mr. Bayo Ojulari, is being asked to explain the whereabouts of this amount of money in the corporation's ledger. The audit report of 2017 to 2023 has a lot of questions, or question marks, we're told. Ojulari is begging for more time. He asked for 4 weeks. He was given 3 weeks. Seeing he has been in the position for just over 100 days, that's why he's asking for more time. He promises to engage external auditors. The Senate says this is not a question of stolen or missing funds allegation, that it's simply carrying out its constitutional duty. In the past, we've seen cases where new bosses of government agencies or parastatals organizations are scared stiff with such allegations and queries of audit. Although Ojulari was not in office when all this transpired, he's new. He's on the hot seat now, and if there are questions to be answered, I guess then he just has to answer it, and that will involve, of course, former officials that he succeeded, Ben.
Absolutely, because I mean, government is a continuum. Whatever he inherited he has to check the files. We also see that, at least for now, Bayo is a kind of giving the public what he has found out. But Senator Wadada, chairman of the Senate Committee on Public Accounts, is actually saying this money is not stolen, but we don't know where it is. Come and explain to Nigerians via the Senate committee. So it's left for them to go account this, to give this account, because if you look at when Melakari and many other government agencies that tend to think that because of them Nigeria has money, each time they are invited to account for their actions and inactions, they just call the bluff, they don't go, and nobody sanctions them. And we are talking, these are people who are the lawmakers. If you made the law to checkmate some people, why is it that you cannot ensure that this law is also implemented? But all the same, time has come. They are always shifting the date. Come and give us, you beg for time, you come again. So we can simply say that NNPCL has again been given time to appear before the Senate. But this again is really not the issue. We have to be accountable for whatever is happening, and maybe because the president is the Minister of Petroleum, let me put it this way, nobody can call him to answer questions as to what is happening, except otherwise there's also instructions behind the scene. Look, continue to play the lackluster approach when it comes to accountability. Outside that, but I think that Nigerians ought to know, the press, everybody, like we are talking now, we are simply holding them to account for their actions and inactions. So let us know where this money is, since we are told it's not stolen. But I think that Senator Wadada too, don't be hasty in saying it's not stolen. Then what are you looking for? So let's wait and see.
Actually, what Senator Wadada said was that the money was neither stolen nor missing. Underline missing. That the money is somewhere, it's still there. Now come and account for it before probably it's misappropriated. And remember, Ojulari was summoned about 4 times. And what the Senate were saying essentially is that if you are serious because you got this query and you have missed appearance 4 times, so within this period you ought to have actually made your findings, knowing exactly what you're going to face. Now you're saying you are new on this seat. So instead of giving you 4 weeks, we're going to give you only 3, and make sure you come back with answers.
Big answers, you know. NNPC is a deep pool. All right, Daily Sun this morning, Northern governors, ACF disagree on Tinubu's performance. He is marginalizing the North, according to the ACF. He has kept his promises, says governors. Why government will not, or the president says, my government will not leave any region behind. Let's also see that story in Daily Trust, where it leads. The title there is ACF says North sidelined as Tinubu's men showcase projects. When you read the story, I mean, if the North is alleged marginalization, what do they want the Southeast to say? Have you seen the consistent pattern of sidelining the Southeast in the APC government from, the former president till now? Well, the president's team claim that they are being fair to everyone, and especially to the North. And the governors of the Northern region also agree with the president, and he's been fair to the region. They are not systematically excluded, according to them. The bottom line is the APC is not really a party with a nationalistic view or outlook. When you see their records, whether it's in the past president or today, their records speak for itself. Anyone can comment here.
Marginalization, it depends on which perspective we are looking at it, because just like the word love, marginalization also has different definitions depending on who is saying it. So I guess the North would feel they are marginalized in a certain way. Let's face it. Maybe they are thinking that some key positions in government should actually go to the North, and if they don't get it, it's called marginalization. The Southeast as well, they feel that, okay, there should be certain, privileges coming in from the federal government which should go to the Southeast. Maybe, you have lots of business interest there. So if those business opportunities are not being made available, then it's probably called marginalization. And now for the issue between the Arewa Consultative Forum and the Northern governors. Well, the governors actually have to protect their seats, because I'm sure most of them are angling for a second term. The ACF on its part, what are we talking about? Is it because the North Central definitely would not align with the Arewa Consultative Forum. So even the leadership of the ACF itself is divided. So yes, I mean, it's 2 people, or rather 2 groups, 2 different sets of interests. Okay. So definitely that disagreement would always exist.
Yeah, I mean, when it pertains to the Southeast, we're also talking about the federal character principle in the Constitution being adhered to for 12 years now. Ben, quickly wanted to say something.
Yes, to inject to what Charles is saying. Now, if you look at the southeastern part of this country, even in terms of states creation, they have been marginalized. And if you look at local government, since governance starts from the rural, the grassroots, Kano State has 44 local governments. Katsina has 34 local governments. Now, at all these 2 states local government and compare with what you have in the southeastern part of, they have just 90-something. The entire 5 states. Where we have 2 states in northern Nigeria with how many states? Now, it behoves on therefore Kano State, Katsina State and many of these northern states to show elements of development. It took Okorocha, for example, to establish schools in Sokoto, in Katsina, in Kano, in Jos, and many other northern states, the Okorocha from Imo State. And what are we talking about? They created what we call nomadic education, the commission itself. What is it that they are showing for it? I think time has come that even Jonathan set up these Almajiri schools to ensure that the North comes up. But you just see that every time is the blame game on the government. Let the North do a searchlight on itself.
Well, time will not permit us to talk about it extensively, but it's an ongoing debate in Nigeria. A leadership newspaper this morning, Deputy Speaker Kalu withdraws Indigeneship bill for further consultations. The bill's intention was to promote national unity, equity, and inclusiveness. He had asked the state houses of assembly to make laws to ensure that settlers in different states enjoy the same rights and privileges as the indigenous people. But the analysis report by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies had caused it to step it down. In this article, they do not say specifically what that analysis was about, but the indigeneship settler subject matter is not one that is new in Nigeria, and it hasn't been adequately dealt with. What has happened actually now in Nigeria is that we have moved to hate speeches, especially on social media, and this is dangerous. We see it all over Nigeria, dehumanizing fellow Nigerians, demonizing them just for being from a particular ethnic group. We see that happening in Lagos and other parts of Nigeria. And so this bill is so important, whether it will change anything. Nigerians, at the end of the day, according to the bill, says that, or it shows that you cannot feel resentment within the country as diverse as Nigeria and get away with it. Again, comments from anyone?
I think we've come to this point where ethnicity is probably at its highest crescendo now. And I'll say that's because, we are in an era where, politicians actually use that as a divide and rule tactic. Now, when you talk about indigenship, see what's happening in Lagos, for goodness sake. I wouldn't go into details of that. It's very, very clear. But of course, ethnic sentiments are the ethnic sentiments is the bane of this indigenship bill. Unless you deal with ethnicity, then that bill is going to be very, very hard to push through.
All right. New Telegraph again. We haven't seen that. Appeal Court rules FRSC lacks power to seize driver's license vehicles. The Court of Appeal in Owerri State, in its ruling, said the Federal Road Safety Corps cannot carry out seizure without a valid court order. It is unlawful and a breach of fundamental rights for FRSC to seize a citizen's vehicle and driver's license. This suit was instituted by one Emmanuel Ugochukwu in Umuahia, Abia State, during COVID-19 lockdown in 2020. Ugochukwu claimed his vehicle documents were in order, but he declined giving bribe, citing lack of cash, after which the car was ransacked, his license seized, and he was accused of traffic offenses. The court has ruled. It's actually great that this was tested in court. Sometimes FRSC officials can be totally unprofessional. Yolanda, do you want to come in here? Yes. I don't know whether this applies to Abuja. It doesn't say.
That's what I was looking for as well. You're right to ask that, because I was looking for that information in the report. And for this story to go to Court of Appeal means that this doctor was very adamant to see that justice is served. And I'm glad it has been. And I hope that this will be a wake-up call for any other of the FRSC, attendants or, the people, officials on the road who, not all of them, but there's a number of people who have these same complaints, just as you've stated, in Abuja as well. So hopefully this is a wake-up call to say that, look, you're not above the law, and there are some things that you cannot do, such as, forcing yourself into people's vehicles, taking their, driver's license. It's ludicrous.
I know. They just jump into your vehicle.
Absolutely.
What's your stop?
And it's
they
scary.
Actually open it themselves and jump in.
If your windows are down, they will let themselves in. It's crazy.
The Guardian newspaper, a woeful record of distribution companies here. The article is titled, "Discos overbilled 2 million customers struggle with metering efficiency." It says collection remains poor. The Discos rely more on subsidies from the federal government and customer reclassification into Band A, despite a 7.3 metering shortfall. Now more people are agitating for more time-bound approach to the metering issue. Although there have been sanctions against Discos on this metering issue, it remains unresolved. Ben, quickly.
Yes, the question is who actually manufactures these meters. If it is the government, let us have these meters. Here you are, you sold the entire company to private hands. The private hands appear to be stronger than even government. They wake up today, increase a tariff and the way they want, and they just said is the law that has permitted them. Who created this law? If the law is injurious, let them simply change it. A time where people will just go into estimated metering bills. You go to a company, you go to an a ministry, and you just say your bill is this. You even negotiate and collect something less. Go declare some and give your company this. So there are people who are getting rich so fat within the system, and the poor man remains that poor because of this. And that is why, if you check, Bismarck is also talking about, if we can't get electricity right, then of course development too is going down the drain. So we've got to get it right, and thank God states are also coming in. But I can see the Minister of Power is trying to bring in some observations that are not too palatable for the time being.
All right, Daily Times this morning, 2027, no vacancy in Aso Villa. APC national chairman tells opposition parties. There are a couple of other stories there. Plateau relatively safer than other northern states, according to the governor. Let's move on to the Vanguard newspaper. In the Vanguard here, Tinubu reassures North of development as ACF chair, ex-SJF. Key quality of LG elections still low, says INEC. And then the Punch newspaper. There, power rotation debate heats up as North reviews Tinubu's scorecard. We've seen that story in a couple of other papers. Olubado Olakulehi for burial August 8. Okay, moving on to the international headlines. Let's look at Daily Mirror. Ultimatum. UK will recognize Palestine as state unless Netanyahu ends the carnage. I mean, Yolanda, the UK moving out of character on this matter, but this decision is being hailed by some as the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Undoubtedly, this is the biggest story of the moment. You know, just before the break, Mr. Shamang and I were talking about, you know, this particular report and how Netanyahu is saying and claiming that Starmer is, quote, appeasing terrorists. So over his pledge to recognize Palestine, unless the war ends. And we were talking about the fact that there is an if. You know, Sir Keir Starmer said Israel must allow unhindered aid into Gaza and agree to a ceasefire if it wishes to prevent recognition of a Palestinian state. So I think all of this is, the world is literally on its toes waiting to see what happens. And just like you said as well, it's out of character for the UK, totally out of character, but it's a great advancement in the right direction, I believe.
All right. I mean, we've seen that response by Israel. The Times newspaper, very quickly, Israel blasts Starmer over recognition of the Palestine state, you know, rewarding monstrous terrorism, he says, you know, with Hamas. Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Ben Sherman, who is the former director of news, Voice of Nigeria, wonderful to have you today.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much, Dr. Constance, for leading today's newspaper review. That's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Charles Eruka. It's goodbye from me.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.